Hi.
Hey y'all! How's it going, everybody? We are back with Because Nobody Cares podcast. I'm your one host, Adam.
I'm also a host, Jared. Hi.
And welcome to the Because Nobody Cares podcast, a show where we talk about shit that no one else cares about, but we do. And maybe some other people do as well. We're not actually entirely sure. We talk about a little bit of everything, and we basically, me having ADHD, my mind goes anywhere and everywhere. So, our lovely assistant rolls a wheel, and whatever the wheel lands on, we talk about. And sometimes we'll talk about that mostly, and then other times we'll talk about that for a minute, and then get sidetracked with other conversations.
The words that elegantly pour from our mouths is 100% going to be the most important thing that enter your ear holes all day.
Yes.
Are you ready to spin the wheel?
We're here
for
a good time, not a long time. So.
Wheel of Random, turn. Tell the bullshit that we shall be talking about today.
I still need to come up with a better rhyme for that. Current shows we enjoy.
Current shows we enjoy. Heck yeah. Well, I have a lot, but since the subject is shows we have currently been watching, I will start with Stranger Things on Netflix. So,
the show I have not watched.
Oh, man, it's great. I've watched it both with my oldest daughter. I've also watched it again with Kat, who is here with us. Yep. And it's great. I could honestly just watch it again and not feel bored or, feel like I'm wasting my time, because I quite enjoy it. There's D&D, especially in season 4. It's really prominent. It's just really good writing. Sure, it's not perfect. And Stranger Things has my favorite scene of any show that I've ever seen ever. It has my favorite scene of all time that I would put as number 1.
Okay. Like, when it came to Stranger Things, like, I had heard of the show, and I've seen pictures of it. Mm-hmm. But, again, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember, like, the biggest exposure to it that I had was on the MOBA game Smite. They did a crossover event with Stranger Things.
Right. Where
some of the characters got skins from the show, emotes, and all that kind of whatnot. And I noticed that there was a bunch of, like, D&D references hidden in the, like, some of the emotes characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, why is there dice and stuff involved in this? And then someone told me, oh yeah, Stranger Things involves D&D. Like, what?
It really does.
Because, like, at that point, the only thing I knew about Stranger Things was that I was under the impression that it was mostly, like, Cthulhu-based shit. Like, Lovecraft and stuff like that.
Well, okay, the actual show, there are some, I would call it eldritch horror sort of elements to the show, 100%, and those who have seen it know exactly what I'm talking about. The Upside Down and all that. That is 100% sort of Lovecraft-inspired eldritch kind of horror stuff. So that's in the show, but they relate that stuff in the show to D&D. So, for example, in Season 1, they call the monster that's involved in Season 1, they call it the Demogorgon, which is a classic Dungeons & Dragons monster. They also call one of the monsters in a later season the Mind Flayer. And then in Season 4, they call one of the monsters Vecna. So, and all of these are Dungeons and Dragons references, but the actual, I would say the actual genre of sort of the scary horror elements in the show are definitely more like Lovecraftian horror. So I would say you were right about that.
Okay, so it's not so much that they are literal creatures from D&D.
Right.
It's just they decided to label these creatures as
the kids who are sort of the main characters of the show, most of them, not all of them, but most of them play Dungeons and Dragons, and so when they learn about these creatures and monsters, they will tie it to the thing they know, which is D&D. But yeah, you're right. The actual monsters are not Dungeons and Dragons monsters.
Okay. And okay, the one girl I know about, 11.
Yeah.
Is that
11.
just her name, or was that like a name given to her?
I'm happy to answer that. That was a name given to her without spoiling too much. Basically, 11 is born, well, not really born, but raised as basically a lab rat. She's kind of forced and hidden in a lab, basically as a prisoner to kind of be forced to do things. And so, her lab number is number 11. So, and there are others, numbers 1 through, different numbers, and you learn about some of these characters later. But yeah, so number 11 refers to her lab number.
Okay, and I'm assuming these lab experiments involved her like psychic abilities or whatever.
That's right. That's the entire reason she is a lab rat / prisoner.
Right. But yeah, like I had heard like a lot of things of Stranger Things, like, and I'm aware that it's a very popular show. It's a well done show. It was one of those things of it never fell into my gallery.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure if I was to start watching it, I would potentially enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I just am one of those people who's like, especially recently, it's the weirdest damn thing. I have a hard time starting things.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm a person who likes playing off of people, in a sense. So, like, if I go to start something, because, like, used to I didn't have this problem, because, of course, like, back when I was younger and me and my wife first got together, I was used to just watching stuff by myself.
Right.
But then it got to the point where my wife would, like, start watching stuff with me, or I would be watching something, and then she would kind of be half paying attention, half doing whatever, and then she'd get caught up on whatever it was I was watching, and then slowly it became a thing where, like, I started having someone to kind of, like, play off of.
Yeah.
Like, relate to and talk about of the show.
Right.
So, in a weird sense of way, that has started becoming a thing for me, in the sense of I like having people to talk to.
Absolutely.
While watching the show, just because
you need an outlet.
Yes.
You need an outlet.
I need an outlet
to process this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
In layman's terms, yes.
One thing I will say is I think the different seasons and different parts of the show like are better than others. It definitely fluctuates in quality, I would say.
I mean, that's
Season
normal.
3 starts out so slow.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of normal for most shows, I feel like. I feel like every show, like, regardless on what it is, has its, like, high seasons, its low seasons, and its mid-seasons.
Yeah, I think Stranger Things is definitely falls into that category. For me personally, season 1 and 4 to me are the best, like just in quality all around, for very different reasons. But season 2 is probably, I would say, maybe not as good as the others, although there are some good parts for season 2. Season 3 is the mixed bag, because the beginning of season 3 is slow and boring, just straight up. Like, and I think a lot of people would agree with that if you look up that the first half of season 3 is very just slow. But then the later half of season 3 is great. It picks up and it's great. But I think what the problem with season 3 is, I think the writers got the idea that, everything has just been so high octane and so fast, we need to slow down and give some time for the characters to kind of talk and develop and everything. But the problem is they took so much time to do that, and the first half of season 3 was one big nothing burger. Like, just nothing was happening. The kids were just sitting around farting and talking about nothing. Things that literally nobody cares about. Like, there just wasn't a lot going
They
on.
were trying to do character development, but there was no true.
Yeah,
character
and right. Their attempt at the character development of the first half of season 3 just fell flat, and I think that's pretty much universally agreed on. It just wasn't very good. But everything, like the other parts of the show, of the entire series, are great. And now you don't have to do this when you do your list, but what I'm going to do, just number one, nobody cares, but also I kind of just want to. I will put a rating on the shows that I'm going to give. So out of 10, I would probably put Stranger Things, just for me personally, at an 8. So, have you come up with something?
I mean, yeah, I got the latest show that I've been watching of, like, actually shows.
Oh, do tell.
It's a anime series that I have not once gotten tired of watching.
Okay.
And all the time that I've watched it, and I have watched this series from season 1. I waited agonizingly for season 2, and I waited agonizingly for season 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And I need to catch up on the latest
Season?
movies
Oh, okay.
of it. And no, it's not Dragon Ball Z. It's Seven Deadly Sins.
Hey.
Now, there's going to be people out there who are going to have mixed reactions on Seven Deadly Sins.
Sure.
And that's weird to me because, like, Seven Deadly Sins, for me, is one of the rare shows that I can watch so many times and not get bored. I have watched Seven Deadly Sins from beginning to end more than once.
Okay. Yeah.
And every single time, I am strictly entertained.
Yeah.
Like, I love the characters of the show. I love the story. I love the... I love the setting. I love just about everything about the show. My complaints of the show are near and far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I have complaints? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not that much of a freaking fanboy.
I think anybody who really loves a show or a game or a movie or a book or whatever should have complaints. Like, because you want to see the thing you love come to perfection, you know? Like, you want to improve on this thing that you love. So, yeah, I think the people who really like something should have
And, like,
complaints.
Okay, for those who... You kind of went on the whole explanation of Stranger Things, so I guess I need to do the same for Seven Deadly Sins.
Sure.
The Seven Deadly Sins, number 1, is an anime.
Right.
And the plot point of this anime is they're in this world where the basically nation that they're all living on is called Britannia.
Okay.
It's kind of like a...
Britannia's the continent.
It's a continent? Okay.
Britannia is the continent that all this is taking place on. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And basically, in a sense, this is taking place in kind of a blend of kind of think of a setting of like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table type setting.
Yeah.
And add magic.
Yeah, add
Okay.
lots more magic than
Might and magic. Cool.
pretty much.
Cool.
The Seven Sins were like the strongest unit of holy knights that existed. And the Grand Master was the strongest holy knight in the kingdom.
So I have a quick question. Sorry to keep interrupting, but we're raising more questions. I'm sorry. So my biggest question now is, just by them being called holy knights, to me that implies that they're good.
No.
They're not good.
Supposed to be.
So why are they called holy knights if they're not good?
It's just what they're called. That's
Okay.
that's basically like...
That's kind of bizarre to me.
They are defenders of the kingdom. What the holy knights are supposed to be is they are almost in a way, think, Pathfinder Magus.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they are. They are
Okay.
sword-wielding spellcasters. Like, they're...
Okay.
And they have different
Well,
abilities.
weapon-wielding
powers.
spellcasters.
Well, yeah, weapon-wielding.
But they're not necessarily good. Okay, that
No.
was my
They're
main
supposed
question.
to be. Like, they are supposed to be because they are supposed to defend the kingdom.
The seven sins have basically kind of been spread to the winds.
Mm-hmm.
They're at this point more along the lines of like campfire stories and legends. But even though their bounties are constantly posted on all the wanted boards of like any place that has
wanted boards.
Wanted boards.
Oh, another thing about this world is that there are not just humans. There's actually 5 races.
Okay.
There's humans, giants, fairies, demons, and the goddess race. Though the goddess race doesn't come in until several seasons in.
Okay.
Or, well, 2 seasons in, I guess. But, and...
What's Meliodas? Is he human?
That's revealed later on.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry, didn't mean to bring up a spoiler. I was just curious because you were talking about
spoiler.
Meliodas. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
But yeah, so each one is a different race, and like the giants and the fairies have ridiculously long lifespans.
Okay.
Like 100 years to them is nothing.
100 years to them is basically like a normal person waiting for the weekend to pass.
But humans behave like
Humans are the
we
same.
do because
Yeah.
so like 100 years is pretty long for a human.
Yeah.
100 years is 100 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the 7 deadly sins have basically been
Scattered to
scattered.
all over.
They've been scattered and
over
basically kind of
Leonis.
been just assumed as legends after all this time.
Okay.
And a lot of their feats have been thrown towards exaggerations
Yeah.
because no one really
yeah.
believes, since a lot of people who witnessed that
Mm-hmm.
aren't around anymore.
Okay.
And basically, the series picks up with the 3rd daughter of the king, the same king that granted Meliodas the ability to gather the sins in the first place.
Yeah.
But the 3rd daughter of the king, it starts off with her looking for the 7 deadly sins because the Holy Knights are now corrupt.
Okay.
That's like, the Holy Knights are supposed to be good, but
Yeah. Not necessarily.
but in this case, they are not. And
It's kind of like, oh, these are the most elite cops, but just because they're the top of the top cops doesn't mean all cops are good. Kind of like, you know, yeah.
So it starts off with her looking for the 7 deadly sins because if the Holy Knights think they're bad, but the Holy Knights are the ones that are being bad, then maybe the sins aren't as evil as they've been led to believe. So it starts off with her hunting for the sins. Now this coddled princess who's lived in a castle her whole life,
Yeah.
searching for the sins, she stumbles into Meliodas' tavern, finds him, and it starts off with their journey as they're gathering the sins
Okay.
and finding them across Leonis.
Okay, when I first found this show, I started on the manga. Okay, I am backtracking a little bit, and I
Sure.
apologize.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I started on the manga, and it was like one day we were at Books A Million,
Yeah.
and I was perusing through the manga. I was like, I wonder if there's any good manga out today. And I came across this book, which read 7 Deadly Sins.
Yeah.
Immediately, my attention was piqued.
Mm-hmm.
Because...
Was that the first time you had seen or heard of it?
Yes, that was the
Okay.
very first time I had ever even seen, heard anything.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I had no idea what this thing was.
Right.
I pulled out book 1, and I see on the cover, cute, silver-haired girl with boobs, and what looks like a little blonde-haired kid carrying a broken sword. My immediate thought was, okay, so kid finds some kind of priestess or magical girl and gets pulled along on this magical adventure of some sort.
Right.
I mean, it's talking about sin, so maybe there's more to it. I start reading it, and my expectations were completely wrong. And it led to, like, what I had talked about earlier.
Right.
After the first book, I was hooked,
Nice.
and I continued to read.
Nice.
We have about the first 20 of them.
I have the first
Wow.
22 volumes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there's still more, and I need to collect the rest of them.
But back to what we were saying is the first sin that they find, besides her finding Meliodas, The first thing they find is Deanne, who
Okay.
is a giant.
So yeah, they find Deanne,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next thing they come across is my bro, my dude, my favorite character of the entire freaking show, Bon the Undead,
Ooh.
the Fox Sin of Greed. I love this character so much.
Vaughn he is great. His
His-
whole shtick is he literally cannot die. Just
Oh,
point
wow.
blank.
He can be beheaded. He can be burned at the stake. He can be torn asunder.
He can be disintegrated.
Exploded. There was a point in the show where he literally was exploded into mush.
Wow.
And he was back in the same episode.
Yeah, he literally
Jeez.
Okay, think Deadpool,
Yeah.
but to like 1,000. Like literally,
Oh, wow.
he regenerates like that.
Oh, jeez.
And like he can regrow limbs. He can.
So he's basically immortal.
Oh, he is immortal.
Yeah.
He is, in all terms of the word, immortal.
Yeah.
That's the reason he's called Bon the Undead.
Yeah.
Like they find him in a prison with stakes driven through his body, staking him to this prison because they can't figure out how to execute him.
So they can't execute him, so they have to just contain him.
They contain him and basically torture him for years
Yeah.
because they can't execute him.
This was kind of touched on before, but every person who's a holy knight, or
Uh-huh.
a lot of the member people of the show, have a magical ability.
Right.
Each magical ability is special to that person or that family line.
Right.
Bond's ability is called Snatch.
Oh.
He has the power to steal whatever he sees.
Oh, he doesn't even have to see it. He can snatch people's hearts out of their body.
Yes.
And he does that. He can literally just snatch their heart. And
Oh.
they can see
All
their
he's
heart
got
in his hand.
he
before
basically
they
just
die.
holds his arm towards you, doesn't even say anything, just goes, Snatch.
This guy's OP.
He is.
This guy is
He
OP.
He also has the ability, like there was at one
It's
point,
not just physical stuff that he can snatch either.
he can also steal your strength. He
Oh, yeah,
can sap you of your strength, he can sap you of your speed.
And give it to himself.
Uh-huh.
Like there's a point where he's fighting that he literally, it's called Fox Hunt. And he literally saps the strength from the people around him and enhances his own body strength
Oh,
and
man.
whatnot.
This guy's OP.
He is. And yet he still loses a lot of fights.
Like this one scene alone made me fall in love with this character.
Okay.
And I got to see it through both the manga and the anime, and I loved both renditions.
All right.
So, okay. So, Meliodas and Deanne are on their way to, like, bust him out of prison. Because they learned that he was locked away in this prison.
Mm-hmm.
By the Holy Knights.
And so, Bond learns that they're on their way to this prison. So he basically, oh, something fun, huh? Okay, I'm done here.
Basically breaks himself out of the prison. He was only there because he was bored. Point blank. After about 5 years,
Wow.
5 years after the event where they were accused, he got bored
And left.
and was just like, and just let himself be captured and has been sitting in this prison for the last 5 years, letting them do whatever they want to him because he's bored.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
It's like,
matter.
yeah. Wow.
But now that he hears, oh, the captain is still alive. Okay, I'm done here. Literally just breaks himself out of the cell.
And then,
Huh.
like, this Holy Knight apprentice comes in, and it's like, you're to report back to your cell, Foxin. No. It's like, so this character literally goes in, slashes at, like, light speed. Like, I'm talking, like, think Sasuke going up against one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist.
Oh,
Type,
right.
like, basically, like, hyper speed, like, sword slashes.
Mm-hmm.
And all you see is this chick just go,
Yeah.
and Bond's like, oh! And, like, he's been in this prison for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's been let go. He's got a, like, beard. His hair is like down to the middle of his back. Like he looks like a fucking hermit.
Yeah.
She gets through with the sword cuts, and he turns around. What do you think? Did I get you to cut a little too much? Clean shave. Buzz, like not buzz hair, but like
a couple
hair,
inches long.
but like
Okay.
a good solid haircut. He literally dodged every single slash from her sword
And got her to cut his hair.
and literally just got him an involuntary haircut.
Oh, that's
no,
amazing.
Fully voluntary. He could have stepped back.
No, he was like, yeah, I'll let you cut my hair. I appreciate that.
And it's so funny because he starts calling the girl Barber Boy because he thinks she's a boy because she's dressed in like men's armor.
Oh, wow.
So he starts calling her Barber
So,
Boy.
and by men's armor, you just mean armor?
Yeah, basically, like it's she's dressed in a way that it's not obvious she's a woman.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like that moment alone is where I was like, I love this guy. I love this guy.
Yeah.
This dude here. He's my guy.
Yeah. Nice.
And like there's never been a part of this show where I started to not like Bond. Like every single part, every season, every episode, Bond just continues to be my guy. And I will, if I ever get to meet Benjamin Diskin, who's the English voice actor for him, I will more than likely lose my shit.
Oh, the best part though is when him and Meliodas finally meet up. Like you have this whole tense moment of Bond, Captain.
Yeah, it's literally just this whole moment, like everything goes silent, and then all of a sudden,
oh, no, the best part is the Holy Knights are like, okay, the sins are inside the prison, and they step back and throw up this spell bead. 12 tyrant dragons can't break down this barrier.
like they basically seal the sins into the prison, thinking we'll just let them die of old age, and then we'll go in and collect them later. The scene then plays out where Bond and Meliodas end up meeting Captain Bond. Tense silence. Bond, Captain!
And they proceed just high-five each other.
almost like Thor and Hulk. Almost from
little.
well, like, if Hulk was on the was also into seeing him as well.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
Nice.
So it's a series of like rapid speed high fives, and then Bond just goes hammer fist, Captain!
Slings him through the walls.
Smashes him through the wall. Meliodas gets up, rocket headbutts.
Oh, no. He jumps up, and Bond's like, me
Me next!
They're just having fun.
And then
with it.
Meliodas jumps up and heads-butts him through a bunch of walls. And then they start arm wrestling.
Oh,
and their
God.
arm wrestling destroys the prison. Breaks the barrier that was supposed to protect against 12 tyrant dragons.
They never realized that they even set anything up. They've just been freaking having a time.
Yeah.
But the others, and I'm just going to go through a quick rapid-fire thing of the rest of the sins, and like a brief summary.
Most of the rest of them you don't meet until a little further in. For the most part, you start out with Meliodas, Deanne, Bond, and then soon after they meet King, who is the fairy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's mostly those four for a while.
And yeah, so King, like she said, he's a fairy. And he has huge magical power. His ability is disaster, which is the dumb ability, by the way.
The thing is, he is the strongest magically, but he is extremely physically weak.
Oh yeah, so it's like the whole trope for Dungeons and Dragons: who would win, a level 1 wizard or a house cat?
Yeah. Physically. Yeah.
And the house cat can kill the wizard.
Yeah. You quit those four end up together pretty quick.
And then the next one they meet is Gother. By the way, King was the grisly sin of sloth.
Okay.
Like the grizzly bear, he was the sin of sloth.
Mm-hmm.
The next one they make is Gother, the Goat Sin of Lust. Gother is a weird character.
Okay.
He is very... In the beginning, he's completely emotionless.
Okay.
And he has no idea of, like, emotion.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand how emotions work, really, and he has a really bad time of reading the room.
Yeah. Okay.
Gets him
And
into trouble frequently.
his ability is that he can literally invade your mind. The next sin that is found is Merlin.
Okay.
And no, not Merlin the old guy wizard, but Merlin the fan service hot wizard chick.
Wow.
Ironically, though, she is with King Arthur from Camelot.
Yes.
Wait. So hold on. So
Yes.
King Arthur from Camelot is in the show?
Yes.
Okay.
Like King Arthur actually is a character. Like when I first read that in the manga, you can ask her because she was there when I read that chapter. I was like, "Holy is that King Arthur? What?"
And yes, Merlin is with King Arthur. The same whole Merlin being his mentor and whatnot.
Sure.
It's still the same.
Because why
it's
not?
Just it's a hot chick instead of an old guy.
Because why not?
A
Because
very scantily dressed
because
hot chick.
Japan
I mean, yeah.
makes total sense. Yeah.
And King has, like, I would honestly kind of wager to say that Merlin actually has more magical power than King does.
I don't
In terms of, like, spells.
Yeah, she has some more diversity, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
She has more diversity in her spells than
She
King
has
does.
so many spells.
Oh,
King
okay.
just has a lot of magic at his disposal. The last sin of the group is a dude named Escanor.
Okay.
Escanor is an interesting character.
He is human.
Yes, he is fully human.
Mm-hmm.
However, due to circumstances, he has an ability called Sunshine.
Okay.
Basically.
And so basically it works like through late afternoon to nighttime. He's just this little scrawny, lanky guy.
Through the night. Once the sun goes down, he is a scrawny, lanky little dude.
Huh.
Who is very timid, very shy, very nervous.
You can flick him and he falls over.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Quite literally.
I'm quite... Please excuse me for ever existing in the first place.
Yeah. He is. But then once the sun comes up, he was cursed by the sun to possess the power of the sun.
Okay.
And so when the sun comes up, he just muscles up to this beefy dude that is the
bizarre.
most physically powerful guy in the
of the
entire
Sins?
He
Oh,
is
wow.
more
Yes,
powerful
he
even than the
is,
giants.
Like, in
wow.
terms of pure power,
Mm-hmm.
Meliodas himself will state he's stronger than he is.
Wow.
Escanor during the day is the strongest physically, and then in the middle and at noon, when the sun is at its highest, he's just that much stronger.
Complete personality shift.
Okay.
Like, he goes from the
Little shy and timid. Oh, I'm so sorry for ever existing.
why should I feel any type of malice towards you? You are in my presence. All I feel for you is pity.
Yeah, literally complete 180.
Personality shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes from timid to I'm superior to you in every single way possible.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So do you feel like giving it a rating or not?
If
It's
okay,
a 10.
If I was to rate Seven Deadly Sins, and again, I do have complaints of it. Like, there are certain things that
you would do
could have been
differently.
done differently,
Yeah.
or that weren't really delivered
Yeah.
properly. So I would. And this is still, even with me being biased, I would probably give it a solid 9, maybe 9.5.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I give it a solid 9.
Between a 9 and a 10 for you.
Yes.
There you go.
And I can't make myself put it down any lower than that.
No, yeah. Well, ratings are arbitrary, and it's a personal opinion anyway, so you're definitely entitled.
Aside from Seventh Deadly Sins, mostly all I've been watching in terms of like current shows is they're just YouTube videos. Yeah. I've been watching a guy called One Topic, who basically reads a whole bunch of like Reddit posts from the transsexual subreddit, bisexual subreddit. He basically reads a bunch of subreddits. A lot of the videos that I've seen of his tend to center around the LGBTQ. Mm-hmm. There's that. There's the Team 4-Star.
Okay, real quick. The first guy. What's the channel name?
He goes by One Topic. I think the name of the channel is One Topic at a Time.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then I have been watching a lot of the Team 4-Star, the Team 4-Star Bento, which is one of their side channels.
Okay.
And basically, Kaiser Neko, Lani Bator, and later on, Takahata 101 have been doing like behind the scenes commentary of Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Okay.
And I've been loving watching that because I love behind the scenes stuff. And watching them reacting to their old and newer stuff is just really fun for me.
Awesome.
Aside from that, that's basically been the Team 4-Star thing is the only real thing I would say is terms of actual like show.
Yeah.
That I've been watching.
Right. Okay. Cool.
That's basically been my TV time.
Heck yeah. I haven't watched this in a while, but I think we're gonna watch it soon. But I can say, one show that is one of my favorites of all time, and I guess I watched it a couple of years ago, so it's kind of recent. But Breaking Bad, and I'll go ahead and tell you, Breaking Bad for me is a 10. So my biggest thing when it comes to shows is it good writing? Is it a good story? Are the characters good? And the thing with Breaking Bad is it hits on everything. The acting is damn near perfect. The storytelling and the writing is top tier. Like I haven't seen anything that's better than Breaking Bad. And the funny thing is, it's literally just a show about drugs and methamphetamine specifically. But the main character, Walter White, played by Bryan Cranston, just completely steals the show. And he's the reason to watch the show. He's basically... And what makes it so interesting to me... Well, there's a lot about it. But... he specializes in chemistry, so he's just a very good chemist.
Yeah.
And so he pretty much puts his master knowledge of chemistry to use when it comes to like methamphetamine, and it just ends up being this huge thing. And I don't know, just the way the show is done, it's very good.
Wasn't the original the beginning wasn't the beginning plot of the show like he found out he had cancer.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
It started off like he had cancer, and then all this other stuff was happening.
Yeah.
And then he finally just said "fuck it" and started making meth.
Pretty much like that. That's the gist of it. So basically, the way that went down is he is a high school chemistry teacher, but his original ambition is he was going to start this company with this other couple, and they were going to make chemistry breakthroughs together because they had already done that in college. Like basically, Walter White was just this brilliant mind who worked with these other chemists, and he was supposed to start like this multi-million-dollar company of having chemistry breakthroughs with this other guy. That ended up falling through. They explain that later in the show. But he ends up pretty much just being a high school chemistry teacher. Even
With a bunch
though
of high schoolers who don't give a shit.
who don't give a shit. That's right. And so basically he's this brilliant mind that's going to waste.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, he finds out that he has cancer. He's not happy with his wife, Skylar, and Skylar in the show, who is Walter White's wife. Pretty much everybody who's ever watched the show will agree that she's an absolute fucking bitch. She is just awful. Like, she treats Walter like shit. She is oppressive. She's kind of like the ideal Karen. But that plays into the show and Walter White's development like so well, because just the way things play out, it's great. Like, there's this constant thing of, you know, Walter White knowing what he needs to do. He knows what needs to be done. He knows how to take care of his family, but Skylar just keeps getting in the way, thinking that she's doing the right thing, and it just keeps escalating and pissing him off and causing problems, and it ends up coming into play. It's highly entertaining, I'll put it that way. And so Walter White makes a decision, like he's like, I have to do something to make my family some money before I die, because I want to leave them with something. He's just trying to be a good husband. And so he has a brother-in-law, this guy Hank, who is Skylar has a sister named Marie, and Marie is married to this cop named Hank. And Hank is one day talking about catching these people dealing meth, and he's talking about how much this meth is worth, and it's like hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars. And Walter is just sitting here watching the news and listening to this, and he sees the guy that they're chasing down that's doing this meth, and it's this guy that he taught high school chemistry to, Jesse. So Jesse's a very interesting character in the show too. And so basically Walter's just looking at this because Jesse was completely a degenerate in high school. He dropped out of high school, I think, and now and Walter kind of sees on the news and hearing from Hank that Jesse is making meth and making like hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, way more than Walter makes teaching high school chemistry. And Walter's like, you know, you could just see the wheels turning in his head, and he's like, hey, Hank, would you mind one day if I just kind of do a ride with you on one of your drug busts? And it just leads, I'm not going to spoil more, but that's kind of how it begins, and it just leads in this whole thing. It's a series of ridiculous events, but it's great, which eventually leads to Walter and Jesse working together to make like the most perfect chemically pure meth that anybody has ever made, and just making money off of it.
I knew those were the two premises that I knew of the show, was that like Walter basically makes the best drugs.
Oh yeah,
and becomes more or less
specifically
just a kingpin of the meth world.
That is a slow getting there, because like there's a bunch of storytelling involved. But yes, that eventually does.
Like, I knew that, and the cancer was like the two driving things of the show.
But yeah, just like the acting, the storytelling, just everything about the show is so like it's a 10 out of 10 for me. And like it's hilarious because it's just a show about some white people that live in, is it Arizona or Nevada? I can't remember where they live.
I feel like it's Nevada.
Yeah, it's one of the two. It's either Arizona or Nevada, and this high school chemistry teacher ends up making meth, and it's a 10 out of 10 show. Like, it's just it's that good. The listening to it doesn't sound that interesting. It's just one of those things you'd have to watch. And Bryan Cranston like completely carries the show.
Like that's basically been the consensus that I've heard of the show.
Yes.
And like it's been one of those shows where like I've heard about it for years. Mm-hmm. And anytime I have heard about it, it's been in the sense of like it's this great, amazing show.
It
and
really
all
is.
This whatnot.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, maybe I might start watching it.
Yeah, like the premise doesn't sound that great. But one thing that, to me, that makes the show so good is the way Walt ends up implementing his knowledge of chemistry in certain parts of the show, not just in making meth, but there's a part where I don't want to spoil too much, but like basically he and Jesse get stranded out in the middle of the desert while making meth because their RV doesn't start. And so they end up, Walt has to come up with this way to basically force the car to start by taking a bunch of pennies that I think have copper and taking a bunch of stuff and melting the copper to form something that will start the car. Like, I don't know, that basically there's a lot of chemistry involved in the show, and just the way it's used is really good. Like, he's basically a modern day alchemist that is being used.
Part of me is honestly curious on like how legitimate some of the stuff he talks about is, because that's like,
yeah,
like shows like that where some of the stuff is kind of like based,
yeah,
on, or at least at the very least loosely based
Yeah.
on stuff that can actually happen.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Right,
Like
yeah.
there's another anime
Mm-hmm.
that now I've not seen this. I've not watched this anime in a good minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a couple of years ago when I watched it. But Dr. Stone,
Dr. Stone. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
basically in Dr. Stone, I won't go too deep into detail with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, again, I've not watched the entire thing and it's been a minute.
Yeah.
But the basic synopsis of Dr. Stone is that the main character, whose name I don't remember,
Okay.
again, it's been a minute, so I don't remember this show, it's not very fresh, but the main character of this show, who is a complete science nut.
Savant, yeah.
He's
Yeah.
how Walter White is to chemistry,
Yeah.
he is to just science.
Right, yeah.
So a mixture like chemistry, science,
Yeah.
all the stuff.
Yeah.
Him, his best friend, and this girl that the best friend is in love with, quote unquote. Well, he is in love with her. That he's your stereotypical anime golden boy.
Okay, alright.
The best friend is.
Yeah.
So the best friend is about to proclaim his love to the love interest girl.
Yeah.
And right as he does,
Mm-hmm.
something happens, and the entire planet,
Mm-hmm.
like every single living organism on the planet, gets turned to stone.
Oh, wow.
Just no. At the point of the show that I was at, no one knows how it happened. No one knows why it happened.
But it just happens.
It just all of a sudden, every single person on the planet got turned to stone.
Oh, jeez.
Wherever they were at that point is where they basically stood.
Yeah.
And then, like, over something like over 1,000 years pass, and each and every single person is still trapped in stone.
Right.
And some people have, of course, been subjected to erosion, natural disasters,
Yeah.
and just all this. So there are some people who have just like broken and fallen apart and all this whatnot.
Yep.
But best friend character, the main guy,
Mm-hmm.
and the love interest are some of the ones who have still survived, and they're some of the only ones who have like broken themselves out
Yeah.
of the stone shell
Okay.
and lived.
Oh, gotcha.
And so basically, the main character, his whole entire goal is to bring the world back to where it was.
Okay.
And the show goes through him basically recreating most of the modern day stuff
Yeah.
through like chemistry, through science, and through all this stuff, because he has such a detailed knowledge and know-how
Yeah.
of how it's made, how it's done, and all this whatnot.
Yeah.
And like one of the biggest conflicts of the show is basically that. The biggest conflict is like on the main character side is he's trying to progress the world with science and get it back to the modern day.
Yeah.
Versus this other guy who also basically did the same thing as they did and like hatched from his stone shell. Mm-hmm. He wants the world to stay as it is.
Yeah.
To stay primal.
Yeah.
And for basically the younger generation to rule the planet and kill off all the adult life.
Wow.
So,
geez.
and like there is a scene where he literally went and he finds this old city with all the people still there, frozen in statues. The children are left alone, completely serene, and he even puts little flower crowns on them.
Oh, wow.
And just like, good child.
Uh-huh. Jeez.
Meanwhile, pan back behind him, and every single adult statue is just rubble.
Wow.
Like, no hesitation from
Destroy.
this dude.
He has a hate boner for adults, basically.
Oh, entire. Like, there's a reason behind it.
Okay.
Like, there's a reasoning behind why he hates adults.
Destroy, kill all adults.
But, yeah, you talking about that with him and the copper pennies.
The chemistry, yeah.
That, and stuff like that has always interested me, because I like knowing... I have what I have referred to as just Wikipedia knowledge.
Right.
I like learning about things.
Yeah.
But I will never be an expert in one specific thing.
Yeah.
Like, the most I can claim to be an expert in is some media knowledge. So, yeah, I got to talk about my one show that I have been watching, and then, like, the couple of YouTube shows that I've been watching, and then I got to bring up that past show that I watched, Dr. Stone.
Yeah.
Good anime, but it actually is a good anime, by the way.
I'll have to, it sounds interesting to me. Yeah, it sounds like I would.
It's actually
like it.
pretty interesting, and it does have that little bit of the whole, like, intellectual tickle.
Yes, and I'm all about that shit. That's my jam.
And then I got to learn a bit more about actually Stranger Things and the whole Breaking Bad thing.
Indeed.
If I ever get around to watching those shows,
both great shows. Yeah.
But I have found out that I have an easier time of starting and watching shows when I have someone to
watch it with. Yes, I'm
with
you on that. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It takes a lot of the wind out of the sails if you don't if you're just watching a really good show by yourself and you can't offload some of the processing onto somebody. It kind of takes the wind out of the sails a little bit.
Yeah, and that's been the common thing that I've been facing.
Oh, I'm with you.
That's one of the reasons why I've kind of not had Netflix, Disney Plus, or any of the other stuff on my phone, is because I don't have the time to just sit there and watch episodes of stuff on my breaks at work.
Yeah.
Because it takes too long. And B, I don't got when I've tried to talk about certain shows with people, I'm not able to get a conversation going. Yeah. And have them kind of relate to the show. You need to bounce. I'm basically just talking to a wall.
Yeah, whereas you need somebody to bounce these thoughts off of. You know, it's like, hey, I need someone that's going to give me a little bit of give and take.
And like, I don't want to. And I also have the problem of I have gone and just watched shows, and then I come home and go to my missus and dump all this shit on my missus that she could not give two shakes of a rat's ass about.
Bro, you know I'm interested. This is why we have the podcast. You know, we can talk about the things we're interested in and hopefully have some audience, but you know, if people don't care, I mean, hey, that's the name of the podcast. It's fine.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We're just doing this for funsies.
That's right. We're doing it because we want to.
And with that, we're probably going to go ahead and wrap up this episode.
Indeed.
So, if you like this episode, leave us a like, a comment, subscribe. Please subscribe. Please.
Yes.
We just
follow us.
Follow our channel, and we will really like it if you went ahead and subscribe or favorited us.
Yeah. Also,
depending on your streaming program.
Also, leave comments to let us know how you feel about some of these opinions and the majestic things that have come out of our mouths today. Leave comments, because, hey, we're so small, we can read every single comment. So, yeah,
or
talk
if
to
you want,
us.
you can even tell us about some of the shows that you've been watching recently.
Absolutely.
Give
us ideas.
Tell us about the shows y'all been watching recently, or hell, even leave us suggestions for future episodes. We'll put them on the wheel.
100% yes.
But yeah, do all the normal stuff for YouTube, and don't forget to try and subscribe to our Patreon. We would really like that though if you would.
If you would go to the Patreon and put the subscribe button on the Patreon.
And with that, good night, everybody. See you next time.
We'll see you all in the next episode. I've been your host, Adam, and this has been my buddy, Jared.
Yeah, boy.
We'll see y'all later.
Bye.